or voice actor. I primarily do animation and video games and anime now and then, but a lot of my work right now is just original animation. And I'm also entering into the toy field. I've recorded 2 toys. I can say what one was. It was an Eevee toy that was from the Pokémon series. I don't know why they asked me to do it. I think it was just a last minute request because they couldn't get the other actor. And sometimes I will do that. I will match voices for various products or shows. Um, bear with me. I'm totally new at this, but uh, I've been at this for about 15 years. And as you can imagine, I've signed many, many, many NDAs. In animation and video games and in anime, they are essential. Part of the reason why is because, and I've been here, when you book something or when you audition for something, you totally want the whole world to know, you get so excited. But sadly, sharing all that information can cost you dearly. And I've seen it happen. I've seen people who booked something at Crunchyroll or what used to be Funimation, and they were either replaced in the series that they were in, or they were just blacklisted entirely. And blacklisted, if you guys know what that means, nobody will want to work with you. Word will spread around that you can't be trusted. And that's not something you ever want to happen. So, what I thought I would do is I have one of my most recent NDAs that I was sent. I'm not going to say the company because that's not how it works. But when you receive an NDA, you're basically agreeing that you're protecting the interest of the company and the company property. So, for example, let's just say, and this is not something I've done, but let's just say Disney sends you an NDA. It's Disney. They're going to make sure that you keep everything confidential. You don't tell anyone that's going to blab around, I might tell my husband 1 or 2 things, but I can trust my husband. And plus, he kind of doesn't have too much interest in what I do. But I won't tell my brother. My brother, unfortunately, loves to blab. So I don't tell him. I might give a hint, but if it comes out of his mouth, that's his problem, because I didn't say anything. But I honor NDAs. And most of all, you do not put them on social media. Do not say you auditioned for this company. Do not say you were booked for this part in a big show. Now, one of the forms that I have, it starts with definitions. So you might see a page that has a list of words in bold. And to go over each one would be extremely tedious, so I would try to narrow down. But, for example, definitions. In this deed, the following expressions shall, unless the context otherwise requires, have the following meanings. And the confidential information is what sticks out the most, which means you don't tell anyone, whether it be written, oral, electronic, or in any form that's supplied by you or representatives. It really helps to have, if you don't understand NDAs, and sometimes I don't, but I also have an agent, and I can send that to my agent, and they can kind of help me decide, what to put my name on. Because you do want to pay attention to what's written. Some NDAs might have a hidden clause or such, and you don't want to get caught up in signing something that might prevent you from being part of something else. There are quite a few groups that I'm part of, and they are constantly putting things on social media saying beware of words like in perpetuity, which means if you sign up to do something, you do it, and then the company or the client has use of your voice forever without paying you a dime. And we don't want that. Now, representatives, which means confidential for the company, representatives means the directors and officers and employees, anyone that's affiliated with the production, legal or company's request, they too are keeping their mouths shut, so to say. And so you don't want to violate an NDA and spoil the opportunity to be part of something that's not meant to be shared just yet. And a lot of this can be very confusing to look at, so bear with me. I've signed so many of these, I've gotten used to how they all look. And I also keep a copy of everything, by the way. So if you have something that's online, I highly recommend you print just to keep a copy for yourself. A lot of the times I just do an electronic signing if it's an opportunity, or I might save it as a PDF and then do an electronic sign. That's perfectly normal. Or you ask the client, do you want me to sign it? And if you have access to a printer, then print it out, sign it, and then scan it, and that way you keep the original copy. So I keep copies of everything. And let's see. If you do violate an NDA, it depends on the company. If it's a small company, more than likely they just may not work with you again. But if it's a huge company, they could probably sue you because you violated a written agreement. And let's see. You see a list of words often, such as exclusions. The company shall not be liable for breach of the undertakings in Clause 2, for example. And any court regulatory body or authority orders the covenanter it says covenanter, to disclose any of the confidential information. Like I said, this gets really, really complicated. And then you have words like indemnity, if I said that right. And that means that the company shall, the person who signs this shall keep fully indemnified at all times against all liabilities, costs, expensive damages, and losses incurred by the company arising from any breach. Then you have covenant, which is the covenanter hereby covenants and undertakes the following. You maintain the confidentiality of all information given to you. If you're given a script, if you're given information about a character, if you're given a drawing of the character, anything whatsoever, clues of some sort, you do not share it. Do not put anything out there. Just saying on your own that I got to audition for this or I got to do this is enough to get you into serious trouble. But putting a script out there can get you in much, much serious trouble. And I believe a good example of that, it's been a long time, but I believe there was one of the shows on Disney. It was someone said that they auditioned for Miss Marvel, I think. And they were so angry that they didn't get the part that they started leaking all this information that they had signed an NDA for. I don't know what happened to that person, but chances are she's not going to be working anytime soon. Or maybe she is, but for very small budget things and not for Disney, which would really suck. And going back to the paperwork I'm looking at, you are to remain accountable for all confidential information. So this company is trusting you not to say anything or do anything. Also keep in mind, and this does happen, I've gotten many auditions this way, but there's some who don't have the paperwork. And you get an email saying, by opening this email, you are agreeing not to say anything about the project or the character, anything. So, as soon as you open that email, you don't want to violate that either. Just because it's not written down with your signature doesn't mean that you won't get in trouble for saying something. So do pay attention to that, and sometimes my agent will send me auditions like that. But I'm just so used to keeping my mouth shut that I don't say anything or do anything unless I have permission specifically from the client. And that's the other thing. There will come a time where, yes, you'll be able to share that you were cast in something or that something is airing on TV or such. Usually what I do is wait. For example, Crunchyroll, I was part of Black Summoner, and I did not say anything whatsoever. But then one day I'm on Twitter, and the director is talking about the show and sharing all the people who were cast in the show. Well, then I have permission to share it because it's right there. He shared it first, so I'm going to share it next. Then if you are waiting for a project, and it can take a long time. I've been part of 3 or 4 series. 2 have been fully recorded. 1 has not been released yet. I don't know if it will be, because that can happen sometimes. But after all this time, I still haven't told anybody about it, because that's just how I am. If it ever comes to light, then great, yes, I will share it. But until then, I'm not doing anything until I have specific permission from the client to do so. And I have emailed the client in the past saying, can I share information about this? And they will either say yes or no. Always honor if the answer is no. Payments that you will see on a form, which is no right or license is granted to the actor in relation to any of the confidential information other than expressly set out in this deed, and it will go into all these different points. Like, all rights in and to the confidential information are reserved by the company, and the actor hereby assign all intellectual property rights or of whatever nature and in whatever from arising as the result of the actor's use of the confidential information, or otherwise as the result of the work undertaken. That means that once you've done the audition, it's theirs. They're not going to make money off it. But you're signing that you have participated in something. And whether you book it or not, you still honor the fact that it should not be shared yet. And then if it's on social media or it comes out on TV or in theater or somewhere and you did not book the part, then yeah, you can say you auditioned for it because it's out now. But don't share the script or don't share things that were included in your audition. Don't share the original audition itself. Then let's see. The word severance. In the event any one or more of the provisions contained in this deed shall for any reason be held invalid, illegal, or unenforceable in any respect, such as invalidity, illegality, or unenforceability, shall not affect any other provision of this deed, but this deed shall be construed as if such invalid, illegal, or unenforceable provision had never been set forth herein, and this deed shall be carried out as nearly as possible according to its original terms and intent. See what I mean? It's legal stuff that not everybody's going to understand right away. And that's why it's good to have either maybe someone, if you have a lawyer friend or someone who understands how all this works, they can interpret it for you. And I have my agents, thankfully. Then it also depends on the country, believe it or not. So, for example, one of the NDAs I got says, the governing law, this deed shall be governed by and interpreted in accordance with the laws of, and I'm not going to say the country just because I am kind of crazy about keeping as quiet as possible. But just for example, it could be Germany, it could be France, it could be Australia. And then it says, and the parties submit to the exclusion jurisdiction of the, and then the city of the country, like Munich or Paris, courts in any relation to any legal proceedings arising out of or in connection with this deed. So if you're doing a project that's coming from another country, if the company is quite big or they're working with a company that's quite big, they're likely to send an NDA. Then there are the smaller companies, the more, indie game companies. I rarely receive NDAs from them, but I encourage that they send NDAs just because it really helps teach actors the importance of honoring what you agreed to do. And as I said before, I have seen people on Facebook, Twitter, even websites, actor websites. As soon as they book something, before it has a chance to be announced, they have to put it on their website, recently cast as so-and-so in the show, or they add it to their credits list when they really don't have the right to, because what if you add it to your resume or you share it, and aside from breaking your promise, well, you might be replaced. And then people will think, oh, you're a liar, you didn't do this. So, yet another reason not to break NDAs. And this year, I've worked with some really huge companies. I've normally spent a lot of time working with smaller animation and smaller game companies, but out of the blue, I started getting contacted by some of the really big ones. I don't know how they found me, but word of mouth can be a really great thing in this business. So when you keep your promises and you are someone who is honorable, reliable, you never know. And hopefully the projects that are going to come out next year hopefully still have my voice in them. And if they don't, well, I still got paid. So that's something else that I, keep up with. If I get paid for the job, that's great. But sometimes I will get replaced. And that's no excuse to go on social media and get angry that I was replaced and, you know, I auditioned for this and I have the proof that I did. So I'm sorry if this is really kind of choppy, but if you start to audition for any projects that you say might get on pay to play, if they're for a video game company, a commercial company, they may send you NDAs just to make sure that you don't, you know, tell anybody about it. If they're more smaller, they may not care. I used to be on pay to plays quite a bit, and I'm not so much anymore. I've learned to market myself on LinkedIn, and that has gained me my biggest clients so far. So, from here on with NDAs, does anybody have any thoughts or questions? Let's see. I don't see any requests to speak, so I hope I'm doing that right. Or does anybody have any questions just about voiceover in general? No? Am I doing this right? Let's see. Phoebe, are you still there? Oh, server ev there's server events, and then I'm just seeing the names of people, and request to speak is empty, so I don't see the chat. I'm on computer. Oh, wait. Now I think I see it. Oh, now I see it. Oh, good lord, sorry. I was looking at the wrong place, you guys. Like I said, I'm totally new to this. I usually only get on Discord just to chat with my husband while he's at work, not my boyfriend, my god. When we were dating, we used Discord to talk a lot, and now we're married. Okay, so let's... Thank you for the positive thoughts. Okay, did I sign an NDA for TMF? Which was TMF? Is that one of the shows? I've done quite a bit of projects, it's hard to keep up with them. Oh, the question for PB. Okay, golly. No worries. Like I said, I am new to this stuff. I usually get on Discord to play Golf It with my friends, and we just chat about how our lives are while we play a stupid golf game. So, anyone have any questions about voiceover? Yeah, the NDA stuff is terribly confusing. And, I hate that they write it in a way that's like for people from Harvard can understand, but people in the real world, we just want to see things like don't go on social media, don't talk on the phone, don't do this, but all that jargon can get so terribly confusing. But you want to try and pay attention not just to what the paper says, but also which country. If a VA doesn't know about NDA, they can't voice act for large companies, right? The larger companies will send you that NDA if you don't know or understand the NDA. If you don't sign it, they won't want to work with you or won't want to audition you. So what you want to do is maybe find someone who can help you determine what it says. But most NDAs are harmless because all you're doing is saying, I'm not going to take money and tell someone a secret. I'm not going to go on social media and blab about it. I'm not going to go to a party and brag to everybody that I was in this with this company. So if it's not on a paper, then it might be in an email. As soon as you open this email, you are agreeing to keeping quiet. And some do that because they just don't want to send the paperwork out. And that's fine. But the very big companies, they will send that paperwork out. And as soon as you sign it, you forget about it. You do the job if it's given to you, or you audition, and then you forget it. You move on. And that's what I've taught myself. As soon as I sign something, then I'm either moving on to another audition, or I'm creating a project for myself. And then if I hear back from the client, oh, no, I remember that now. Great. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? You know the difference between regular NDAs and NDAs for people in the industry under the age of 18? Yes. So, anyone under the age of 18, it should say the client will, the client should be aware of this. Because if they're asking for actors that are under the age of 18, then they'll include paperwork that will say, signed by the guardian, signed by the parent. So, a child cannot legally sign something without the parent signing it with them or signing for them. That's why you do have to look at it. But again, when I see auditions and they ask for authentic children, it's the parents that usually get the NDAs. Now, if you're 16 or 14 and you get it in an email, still, you need to look at it or have your parents look at it and make sure that you're signing the right things and that more than likely they will have to sign it too. What words do you recommend to look out for in NDAs? NDAs that can be as many as 4 pages, and that's usually from the really, really big companies. Then you have one that maybe they just printed off a website, and added their own company name to it just to make it look legitimate. And then some have lawyers, their own lawyers, put it all together for them. And words that you need to look out for, confidential is the big one. That means do not say anything. Do not talk about anything. Then you have further agreement. So the word agreement, you are agreeing not to say anything, not to violate. Does any part of an NDA legally remain after the release of a project? Say hypothetically, in 10 years' time, you're being interviewed about past roles. Could you potentially get into legal trouble by speaking off the cuff about what went on during the recording, who, what, when, where, etc.? No, usually not. If you've seen some interviews of celebrities when they talk about how they worked in films like the Marvel films or, let's say, Lord of the Rings, you'll see interviews and they talk about things they did. Now, if it's controversial, then yeah, you probably don't want to say anything controversial or, that might make somebody look bad. But you should be okay talking about how, I remember doing this role and I was having a hard time saying the word over and over, or I was having a hard time getting the emotion that the director wanted. But you don't talk about anything that can make someone look bad or make you look bad. And you also have the right to just say, you don't want to talk about it or you don't know what to say about it. Have you seen any odd terms for an NDA, like a specific action? Not yet. Again, I've been doing this for so long that if I work with a brand new client that, let's say, is a small company, they don't have much of a history, I will be a bit suspicious because, number one, they're brand new. If they don't have a website, if they don't have an IMDb page, or if they're not active on social media, that's when I kind of get a bit suspicious. But as long as they have something that I can look at, then I will determine if there's anything off about it. If that answers the question. Yes, you will see quite a bit of companies now in IMDb. A game I did a very long time ago, it's an indie game called The Dishwasher Vampire Smile. That was like probably one of my early years of getting into video games. It's an indie game, and it was something I got on a pay-to-play site. Well, about 4 or 5 months ago, after doing this game like 11 years ago, all of a sudden it appeared on my IMDb page. And I recognized that the developer, who's just this one guy who creates all this stuff, he just decided to create an gosh darn it, an IMDb page for his games and his game company. So some things just appear. I don't usually add anything. I like to let my clients decide that. I may correct something. I don't like to add on to my page unless, like, one, I have permission, and number two, the company can do it for me. And also, any NDA that has, I've never seen this, but if they ask you for money or such, no, do not do that. Yes, basically just move on and forget. Sign it, keep your promise, and let it go. The same thing happened with me, except someone who was a fan of these projects I'm in just added me and all the cast members to an IMDb page. So, a cry emoji. Is it bad that they added you to an IMDb page? Hmm. Yeah, you want to be careful with the fan projects, if that's what it was. I have done, I did a fan project a while back, but then I think I got rid of it. It's not on my resume, it's not on my IMDb page, and I even got rid of it on YouTube. It's still out there, but I just wanted to be part of something that was a little bit different, and sometimes I do volunteer my voice for very small projects. I have a client who used me for a short film and paid me a really good amount of money. And he asked me over the summer if I would just provide a few lines for him. I've known him for years, and so I did that for him. I'm not going to do it all the time, and he knows that. But that's something original. Fan projects are definitely something you really want to be careful of. And please do not get involved in fan dubs. I'm I totally understand why people do it, but you will jeopardize opportunities to work at companies like Bang Zoom or Crunchyroll. Let's see. Lip biting emoji? Well, you could try to if okay, here's the thing. I'm on IMDb Pro. IMDb Pro is fantastic. And if I see something that maybe needs to be changed or added, then I can use IMDb Pro to remove something. So you might be able to remove that credit on IMDb. What do you think about the comic dubs of said shows? They're not fan dubs. Anything that, this is my opinion, if it's copyrighted, I don't mess with it. Unless you do something like on YouTube, you say, I don't own this property. This is just a fun project. And see, I'm kind of wary about that myself because I want to sing cover songs just because my family wants me to sing more. The part of me is kind of terrified to do that because I've gotten in the habit of really honoring artists, what they create, and I don't want to be one of those people who just put something out there and I certainly will not monetize it. However, if I was to go with like the Harry Fox agency, which is like the big agency for all music artists, game composers, film composers, etc. If I find on their website that there's a license for it, then I might purchase a mechanical license, which means I could put a video of the song, but then I'd also have to have that other license that says I can sing the song as long as I don't make money off it. Then there's another license where you could make money off it, but you have to pay royalties to the producer or the talent that created that music in the first place. So that can be very hectic and very time consuming, and that's part of why I just don't jump at it right away. I just don't have the ability to write my own songs, sadly. And thank you, yes. I want to be one of those talents who respects other talents. Um, Try to put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if you wrote something, if you drew something, and especially with all this NFT stuff out there right now? Like, how would you feel if someone took something you worked hard on, put, blood and sweat into, and then put it out there in their version without your permission, without thinking, would this be okay? And you either would be okay with that, or you might say, you know, there are rules. Don't make money off it, which is a big one. You don't want anybody making money off you unless you know about it. Is there a difference between NDA and IMDb? Okay, NDA is non-disclosure agreement. It's just paperwork. IMDb is Internet Movie Database. So it's basically like it started as a fan site where you just list every movie, TV show, video game, and now they're adding podcasts and anything that's entertainment related. Except for stage. That's a whole different other website. But they list the characters, they list the actors, they list the producer, director, casting director, uh, script, the Foley, sound designer, every part that that is a part of a project. If it's a small game, then maybe you might see 6 or 7 names. If it's a huge project, you probably will see 100 names. And every little bit that they do is part of that project. So imagine all that imagine all the NDAs they had to sign for films like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. All those people had to keep their mouth shut. What's funny enough is one time I was in New Zealand because I am madly in love with New Zealand. I've been going there for a long time. But one of my visits was back when Lord of the Rings was filming. And I was in the area and I thought, "Oh, maybe they'll let you be an extra on on the show." I can't work there because I don't have the visa, but they would allow, some travelers to just be on set for something. I went into one of the trailers. This was before some of these pictures had gone out. They told me right away I had to sign paperwork to not say anything about what I saw, and I saw film sets and pictures and locations, all of which had not been announced or shown anywhere yet. I keep my promises. And they're out now. I don't remember what exactly I saw, but I think there was a construction of Helm's Deep because I drove by there a few times as well. But even then, simple as that. Tom Holland, I can't imagine Tom Holland can't for some reason. I'm sorry, not sure I understand that. If there are any questions I missed before because I am so ignorant of server events chat, please repeat the question or repeat the thought. I need to kind of keep doing this kind of stuff so I can get used to it. Half the time, he almost spoils the movie. Well, after the movie's been done, if it's been released, you kind of can get away with that. I mean, once it's out in the media, once it's out in theaters or streaming, and there's no law against that. Is OHSCHC still under NDA? Um, it's been a long time since I worked on that. A long time. I don't, like I said, I don't work on a ton of anime much these days. I used to work on it a lot. But when I started marketing on LinkedIn, I started connecting with certain toy companies and animation companies. Not huge ones, but like for right now, I can definitely say this, but I'm working quite a bit with dubbing for Korean animation. I don't want to say the shows, but some of them are on YouTube now, so I can definitely share that. There was one time Tom Holland got some kind of poster of the new Marvel movie and was live streaming it and didn't realize the poster wasn't public, and I think he got in trouble, something like that. Well, yeah. Yeah, that can, yeah. But because he's so huge and, he's not quite replaceable at this time, I think they were willing to let it slide. If it was a big nobody, that would be different, but a huge celebrity can get away with quite a bit. Not good, but he's harmless. Anything else? Hope I'm not boring people too much. Would you say NDAs are different based on the type of project, like animation, audiobook, commercial, etc.? Yes. Now, if you're exploring the audiobook world, if you're on a site like ACX, which I'm not fond of because a lot of those people on ACX, and this may sound like a complaint, it's not meant to be, but a lot of the authors on there Many are brand new. They're entering the world of being an author. They don't have any sales. And if they don't have any sales, but they want you to do the project for royalty, well, that means whatever the author makes off the audiobook, they give you half of. But if they haven't sold any written copies, how are they going to sell any audio copies? So, royalty shares are not something I'm fond of. And they will make you sign something probably if you're not already on the website that says you're going to agree. If you get hired for something, you're going to agree do this project for royalty shares, not being paid per hour, being paid per recording hour. Now, if a story, say, has like lots of reviews on Amazon, has been mentioned on book blogs, has a really good website, then yeah, royalty shares might be worth it. I did that for maybe 2 books. They were poorly done, but the author had a really strong following. It was just an independent vampire novel, 2 vampire novels. I love vampires, but I am so sick of how do I put this? The the Twilight kind of thing, just where you have 2 guys to choose from. I forgot what it's called, but, I like my vampires really scary. But anyway, I signed an agreement with her that I would do the work for royalty, and over the course of about 7 or 8 years, I would see a check come to me for maybe as low as $9 and as high as $50 to $100. It just went up and down depending on who bought it and who she marketed it to. So I made a good amount of money with that. Again, she was a terrific marketer. She had a fan base. She was on social media, just really putting herself out there. And I was so naive at the time. I don't know why she chose me. I didn't have my fancy studio back then. I was in my closet and I was not using great equipment, but she was very forgiving. So maybe she's found better narrators to like redo the story or something. But I rarely touch audiobooks. But I have been getting auditions from the bigger companies now. And again, I'm not quite sure how they found me. But I looked them up, and do your research, everyone. Look, if you get something from a company, see if they have a website, if they have a LinkedIn page, social media, or if you're on some of the voiceover groups, on Facebook or Twitter or Reddit, maybe ask people, have you heard of this company? Don't be afraid to ask that because there's nothing that says you can't mention a company that's not been heard of. Now, who is your favorite character that you have voiced? Have you voiced any characters that you regret, or are there any roles you regret not taking? Let's see. I have quite a few favorite characters, and it changes depending on the project. Probably my favorite character right now that is on my mind, I can't share yet. I don't know when the series will be released, but it is a Korean animation project. And I was a lead character on that, which I rarely get to do. The company I'm working with right now in New York, they work with companies in like South Korea, but also Dubai. And these cartoons are coming out and they need people to dub them. And I get to be part of those shows with more than just 3 or 4 lines. I'm actually characters. And yes, I will do background characters too because it is work. It's a job. But of the characters that I've been announced or that I've done already, I really like Satoru from Line Barrels of Iron. When I did that character, I thought it was a boy for the longest time because the character was so androgynous, and there's just something about androgynous characters. They're mysterious. You really want to figure them out. And then finally I learn later in other episodes, oh, she's wearing a bikini. She is a girl. that was really amusing for me. 'Cause I spoke it with a boy voice. I do lots of, little boy voices. Let's see. Have you voiced any characters that you regret? I'm not too crazy about, shows that have a lot of, I guess, erotica in them, some of the anime. I have done shows in the past, and I've been warned ahead of time, this has situations in it, it has violence, or it has, sex scenes and all that. Um, I don't necessarily regret it, but in some cases, I would just use a different name because, like I said, it's still a job. And one thing I will not absolutely do, and I've been asked many times, and I will not do it, I will not narrate erotica. I know there are people that can make serious money on it, but I've worked on kids' shows for so long, and I would feel so gross using my young voice. And that's what they wanted, by the way. They wanted a young adult voice, which still makes me cringe. I will not voice erotica. But there are adult, mature games that I will voice. We have the Yeah, not that's the word, that's the phrase, not safe for work, that's what I was trying to think of. I didn't know the other name for it. But yeah, I'm not too fond of those projects. I understand that, there's an audience for them, but I'm not too keen on that, and I've just gotten way too comfortable, you know, being part of the more family-friendly stuff, but I have worked on games that have mature content. Anybody else? Oh, I see some people leaving. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm totally new at this. Would you say that representation agencies is important? That's a yes and no question. I do have an agent, but it's a Texas agent. Now, in the world of voiceover, and some agencies will agree with this and some will not, but there are some agencies that understand you might find things on your own, you know, and you don't have to pay them for that. But then there are some agencies that are exclusive and they will demand that whatever you book or even clients that you got on your own before joining them will have to be their clients now. They will handle everything from the marketing to the what to charge, all that stuff. And unfortunately, that can chase clients away because they're used to paying a certain price that they can afford, but then they may be told, "No, you got to pay more money if you want to keep using our talent." And then those that are more flexible, that they understand you're doing your own marketing and you're booking work on your own, they will encourage you to kind of give them a cut, which is understandable because they're taking a chance on you as well. They're marketing you, they're helping you, and it is a partnership. But if it's not in the paperwork, you don't owe them anything. For example, my client in New York, my agent doesn't represent me in New York. They represent me in Texas, they represent me in the Southeast or Southwest, but they don't represent me in Texas. Sorry, gosh darn it. Yes, they represent me in Texas, but not New York. Now, when I got picked to do a really huge game, huge franchise, huge company this past year, they were in California. I did give them to my agent because number one, they Taft-Hartley'd me, and I had no idea how to handle that. I've been doing non-union for so long, and all of a sudden, I'm SAG eligible. I'm not going to sign any paperwork that has any of that stuff without my agent involved, so that I can make sure I don't get trapped in any holes or such. Are all big projects recorded in a studio, or do some end up being recorded by the VA's home studio nowadays? Right now, I'd say 90% of my work is done from my home studio. Before COVID happened, I was contemplating just quitting voiceover because I hated recording in my closet. My house is old. I could hear a 60 hertz hums in the walls, and I could not control it. I could not stop the noise I heard from outside, the planes going overhead. So I decided after 3 months of research, I'm not kidding, 3 months, 4 to 5 hours a week of research, I decided to purchase a Studio Bricks booth. And I asked every question from A to Z I could